Have you ever wondered what would happen if Kenjaku, the mastermind behind the Shibuya incident and the culling games, is actually a good guy? Even though Sukuna eventually becomes the main villain after the Shinjuku Showdown arc, before that it is always Kenjaku orchestrating nearly every major tragedy in the story. But what if that same thousand-year plan is built to save humanity, rather than experiment on it? Our story begins during the Heian era. Kenjaku still conducts experiments, but instead of innocent people, he uses criminals, dying sorcerers, and curses who have already destroyed countless lives. His goal is never world domination. He believes that as long as normal humans remain powerless and blind to the cursed world around them, curses will dominate forever. So unlike the main timeline, he sets out to evolve humanity rather than weaponize it, with no plans of merging everyone with Tengen. What changes everything is Sukuna. While most sorcerers admire him, Kenjaku fears what Sukuna represents: the complete rejection of humanity, a being who exists only for his own pleasure and destruction. When Kenjaku learns Sukuna plans to divide his soul into 20 cursed objects to survive death, he gathers the strongest sorcerers of the era and launches a desperate attack. It ends in complete disaster. Sukuna massacres them effortlessly, erasing entire landscapes in the process. Kenjaku barely escapes using his body hopping technique, while Sukuna completes his transformation undisturbed. From that moment onward, every action Kenjaku takes over the next 1,000 years revolves around one goal: preparing humanity for Sukuna's inevitable return. He becomes a hidden guardian rather than a manipulator. He prevents dangerous curse users from destabilizing the world, maintains balance between powerful clans, and across different points in history makes binding vows with extraordinarily strong sorcerers who can be reincarnated when Sukuna returns. After centuries of preparation, Kenjaku realizes no sorcerer alone can defeat Sukuna, not even the Six Eyes. He needs something entirely new. This leads him to his cursed womb experiments. But unlike the main timeline, he genuinely cares about what he creates. Choso and his brothers are not disposable tools. But even the death paintings are not enough. Kenjaku needs a perfect vessel for Sukuna, so he takes over the body of Jin Itadori's wife, exactly as in the original timeline, because Jin is the son of Wasuke Itadori, who is a reincarnation of Sukuna's twin. Together they conceive Yuji. Every aspect of Yuji's body, his superhuman physicality, his unnatural durability, his ability to suppress cursed objects. After Yuji's birth, Kenjaku leaves and lets Wasuke raise him. But when Yuji is around 15, Kenjaku reveals himself, and with Wasuke present, tells young Yuji exactly what he is, what his purpose is, and why humanity will need him in future. He asks Yuji to begin training. It is not a gentle conversation for Yuji at all, as he realizes he is not born naturally but made through an experiment. But Wasuke and Kenjaku are there for emotional support, and that keeps Yuji sane. Years later, Kenjaku notices Geto slowly descending into hatred toward non-sorcerers after Riko Amanai's death, and intervenes before he completely breaks. He reveals centuries of history and promises Geto a future where humanity can evolve without genocide. But Geto still has to absorb cursed spirits daily, something he describes in his own words as swallowing a rag used to clean up vomit. His conversation with Yuki solidifies his ideology around eliminating non-sorcerers, and the death of Yu Haibara, a junior sorcerer, is the final straw. Geto abandons humanity entirely, chooses the same path as the original timeline, and is killed by Yuta. Kenjaku regrets not being able to reach him, but takes over his body to access his technique, deciding to make something good out of it. Even with Kenjaku guiding humanity from the shadows, evil still exists. Curses are born from human emotion, and no amount of intervention can eliminate grief, fear, and hatred from the world. The disaster curses still emerge, marginally less developed than in the main timeline, but no less dangerous. Among them, Mahito stands entirely apart. His hatred of humanity is philosophical and absolute, and a world where every human can use cursed energy is a world where curses will eventually lose, which makes Kenjaku's goal his personal enemy. He, along with Jogo, Hanami, and Dagon, begins hunting Sukuna's fingers, with Uraume guiding them from the background, filling the role Kenjaku has played in the original timeline. As years pass, Yuji eventually enters Jujutsu High under Gojo's guidance. He arrives already aware of curses and carrying the knowledge of what his body is built for. Gojo finds this both useful brutal and slightly unnerving, since Yuji knowing too much about his own purpose before he is ready to carry it can just as easily break him as strengthen him. Yuji quickly forms close friendships with Megumi and Nobara, while also growing stronger alongside Yuta, Maki, and the others. Meanwhile, Kenjaku, working quietly alongside Choso and the reincarnated ancient sorcerers, continues preparing for the war everyone knows is coming. Everything changes the moment Yuji consumes Sukuna's first finger. Kenjaku's plan seems successful. Yuji suppresses Sukuna far beyond expectations. For the first time in history, Sukuna finds himself trapped inside a vessel he cannot fully control. But as time passes, Sukuna begins realizing something horrifying. Yuji is not simply containing him. Yuji's body is naturally adapting to Sukuna's cursed energy. His soul slowly becomes resistant to Shrine, and over time, Yuji even develops partial immunity to Sukuna's techniques. For the first time in centuries, Sukuna genuinely views another human being as a threat. Several of Sukuna's fingers have been secured by Jujutsu High with Kenjaku's help over the years, and knowing this, Jogo, Hanami, and Dagon move to retrieve them by attacking the school directly. Mahito and Uraume go separately to distract the sorcerers and manage to erect a barrier over Jujutsu High during the Kyoto Goodwill event. Mahito sends waves of his idle, transfigured humans against everyone while he faces Yuji directly. It is the first time Yuji fights Mahito, and Mahito has already killed a number of sorcerers by the time they clash, which is more than enough to bring out Yuji's full aggression. On his own, Yuji is able to keep up due to his early training and knowledge of cursed energy. He still cannot take Mahito down, but just then Todo arrives to help out his brother. Together they give Mahito the same kind of beating Mahito has received from Nanami and Yuji in the original timeline. Meanwhile, Gojo breaks through the barrier, and Jogo immediately moves to intercept him, buying time for Hanami and Dagon to retrieve the fingers. Jogo has heard stories about Gojo Satoru his entire existence, but has never fully believed them. After witnessing his strength and domain expansion firsthand, and barely escaping with his life, he is convinced Gojo is a threat to every curse on the planet. Hanami and Dagon locate the remaining fingers and pull Jogo out before Gojo can finish the job. Gojo launches a hollow purple after them, but Uraume arrives carrying a heavily injured Mahito, and they all escape together. Kenjaku, who has already known about the attack, chooses not to intervene. They need to face Sukuna at full power, not erase him before he is whole. Mahito's group, after retreating, begins planning the Shibuya incident. Their goal is to use the chaos to feed Yuji the remaining fingers, strengthening Sukuna's grip on Yuji's body enough to force a full takeover. Kenjaku is aware they will try to feed Yuji more fingers, but what he does not know is that they have also brought the prison realm specifically to trap him. When the day of the Shibuya incident arrives, it is already going to be far larger than the original timeline, with Sukuna set to reach 19 fingers and Uraume carrying Sukuna's mummified original body to fill the 20th slot. Ogami and his associates place their barrier and begin the ritual to summon Toji. Gojo and the other sorcerers arrive in Shibuya as a massive, coordinated curse user attack breaks out across the city. Kenjaku also arrives, intending to stop Mahito's group before they can force all the remaining fingers into Yuji at once. The risk of Sukuna completely overtaking Yuji's body is too high to ignore. Mahito splits his transfigured human army across 3 sections of the city to divide the sorcerer's attention. Maki, Nanami, Megumi Fushiguro, and the Zenin clan head are drawn to one section, Gojo to another, and Yuji, Nobara, Meimei, Ui, and Todo to the third. Kenjaku moves to locate Mahito and Uraume and recover the fingers, but is immediately ambushed by a wave of enemy curse users. He handles them without difficulty, but while he is occupied, Uraume and Mahito hit him from both sides simultaneously. As he backs away, the prison realm activates behind him and seals him inside before he can react. With Kenjaku out of the picture, the curse faction moves freely. Gojo is handed Hanami and Jogo to keep him occupied, while Dagon, now fully awakened as a special grade curse after consuming countless humans, is sent against Maki's group. When Mahito and Uraume arrive to feed Yuji the remaining fingers, Choso and his brothers appear to block them. Even with Mahito growing rapidly through the fight, they are holding him. But Jogo breaks away and arrives to shift the balance, pushing everyone back hard. When asked about Gojo, Jogo confirms he will not be arriving. Gojo is dealing with the awakened Toji, and Hanami has already been killed by Gojo crushing him with infinity. With the sorcerers pinned, Jogo, Mahito, and Uraume go all out and knock Yuji Yuji unconscious. While Jogo holds the others, Mahito and Uraume take Yuji to a secured location and feed him the remaining fingers. The moment Sukuna awakens, he moves to attack Mahito, but Uraume intervenes, assuring Sukuna that Mahito is an ally. They then feed him his mummified original body, restoring Sukuna to his full power for the first time in 1,000 years. Sukuna has no interest in fighting Gojo yet. What he needs is Megumi Fushiguro's body. He moves to Megumi's location, where Megumi and the others have just barely managed to bring down Dagon and are completely exhausted. Sukuna arrives and kills the Zenin clan head and Nanami, leaving Maki severely injured and barely conscious. Watching everything collapse in front of him sends Megumi into a state of shock. Sukuna presses further, revealing what Uraume told him earlier, that Yorozu has taken over Tsumiki's body, and that Megumi's sister is gone beyond recovery. The weight of everything hitting at once sends Megumi into complete despair, and Sukuna uses that opening to take over his body. Gojo, having finally killed Toji, arrives at Nobara and the others' location, where Jogo's firepower is overwhelming them. He finishes Jogo instantly, then immediately goes after Uraume and Mahito upon learning they have taken Yuji. When he discovers they no longer have Yuji, he doesn't engage much, but makes sure to take the prison realm with him before he leaves. He arrives at Sukuna's location to find the scale of destruction Sukuna has already caused, and finds Yuji's empty body there, but Megumi is gone. Then Sukuna appears behind him in Megumi's body. With full power and the 10 Shadows technique now at his disposal, fighting Sukuna in Shibuya means millions of casualties. Gojo insists on settling this fight a month from now in Shinjuku. During the 1-month training period, Gojo and the others prepare themselves for the worst, and also use Angel's ability to free Kenjaku from the prison realm, but by the time he is out, the damage is done. Sukuna has Megumi's body and the 10 Shadows technique, a direct counter to Gojo through Mahoraga. Kenjaku genuinely does not know if humanity can win against the King of Curses, as he has never accounted for Sukuna having the 10 Shadows technique as well. The day of the Shinjuku showdown arrives, and Sukuna and Gojo fight just as they do in the original timeline. While they clash, Mahito, Uraume, and the remaining curses move to ambush the other sorcerers. Kenjaku had predicted this and had already positioned Yuta, Hikari, Mekamaru, Yuji, and his brothers to intercept them. With that lineup, they handle it very well, though by the end, only Yuta and Yuji are still standing and not too tired or hurt. On the other side of Shinjuku, Gojo is losing to Mahoraga. Before Sukuna can land the finishing blow with world-cutting slash, Kenjaku intervenes by unleashing the reincarnated ancient sorcerers he has spent centuries preserving. Kashimo joins the fight alongside them. Individually, none of them can do significant damage to Sukuna, but together they inflict enough that Kenjaku is able to pull Gojo out of the immediate danger zone. Sukuna then begins cutting through the ancient sorcerers one by one with Mahoraga and Malevolent Shrine. As they fall, the current generation steps in. Yuta, Maki, Nobara, Yuji, Todo, and the others enter the battle. Yuji here is a fundamentally different fighter from his original timeline counterpart. His body has adapted to Sukuna's cursed energy perfectly over time, giving him resistance to shrine attacks that no one else possesses. With Kenjaku, Yuki, and the others handling defensive support, they manage to keep up with Sukuna. Yuji and Nobara try their best to communicate with Megumi, and since Sukuna wasn't able to kill Gojo in Megumi's body, they are able to free Megumi from Sukuna's grip. Sukuna responds by transforming into his original 4-armed Heian form and kills Yuki, Mekamaru, and several other sorcerers in the aftermath. Kenjaku moves to guard Megumi, who has lost everything. His sister's soul was destroyed the moment Sukuna used Megumi's own 10 Shadows technique to kill Yorozu during the 1-month training period, erasing the last thing Megumi had been fighting to protect. He is still barely holding himself together. Kenjaku, Yuji, and Nobara pull him back from the edge, not with grand speeches, but with the simple reminder that there is still something worth finishing. Yuji, stronger and more knowledgeable about his own body than he ever is in the original timeline, begins pushing Sukuna back in a way that has never happened before. To give Yuji the one clear opening needed to trap Sukuna in his domain, Kenjaku attacks Sukuna with maximum Uzumaki and sacrifices himself. Yuji takes the opening, traps Sukuna in his domain, and kills him. Without Kenjaku, Gojo, Mai, and many others others would not have survived. The casualties across both Shibuya and Shinjuku would have been catastrophic. One thing and one thing only is different about this version of the story. Kenjaku is on the right side. He sacrifices his dream of evolving humanity to save humanity from Sukuna instead.